Today's episode of Running It Back is locked and loaded. Yes, that's right. After a week off, the show is back, and quite literally, as you will find out. But first, stand-up comedy is happening all the time. It's increasing, and you can see more of me doing live stand-up comedy starting next month, August 10th. You can catch me in the virtual world, so if you're not in the Southern California area, see me on your computer screen, your iPad, your whatever. I will be on your screen August 10th, then August 15th and 16th right here in Burbank, California. I am in the Burbank Comedy Festival. You can see me then. 2 nights. Check it out. More information coming as it gets closer, as we just basically do what we did before in a normal sense. It's back. It's here to stay. God willing. Buddha willing. Today on the show, who joins me? Adam Chambers, Sean Durrie. They're a duo. They are in a musical comedy group called The Show. That's the name of their band. It's called The Show. I've performed with these guys. They do something different than other musical acts, than regular stand-up, and they kill. I've seen them and performed with them many times, and they always bring it. But have I ever talked to them at length for this long-form interview like I'm about to do? No, I haven't. As you'll see, as I found out, their journey, their path, quite different, their experience, quite different than the normal traditional stand-up comic might endure. And they break it down for me. They let me know what's up, how they met, where they are now on their path, and where they're going. Not to mention, we cap it off with the Rotten Tomatoes head-to-head game. One of the more competitive, spirited rounds of it as well. Special theme for the show, Adam and Sean, as well. We take a trip down, also in the interview, down memory lane, old Pat Ramirez and his high school stories. Stay tuned for that. Hey, if you like the show, if you listen to the show, if you're new to the show, give it a like, give it a subscribe on my YouTube channel. I see it, and it helps the channel. If you're new to the show, also go back. Go see who I've interviewed. Go catch up. Might be some favorites in there. Go to the archives, as they say. But right now, Sean and Adam from the musical group The Show join me on Running It Back. Here we go.
We look like we work at like a Hawaii resort.
I was gonna say you guys are dressed like you're like waiters at islands.
Yeah, exactly. And we're on like
Totally.
a break in the back.
We're working like a Banana Republic at a resort.
Yeah.
Recording this 10:57 West Coast time. Sean and Adam are joining me from The Show. I mean that in the sense that that's your band's name, but I also mean that you guys just finished a show too.
You did.
And you were kind enough to join me right after it. How was the show?
It was good. Like, we were part of a music cabaret night, and we do a comedy music. So we were kind of fitting in the cracks, but they had a lot of acts, and we were like, guys, you got to put us on stage because we need to leave because we're so cool.
I'm a lot more like PC than me. It wasn't going very well. It was fine. Everyone was doing well as far as the talent goes, but it was running very long.
Yeah.
I think the show is probably going to cap at like 3.5 hours, which is just way too long.
It should be rounding out about 3:15 this morning. The show should get to the juggler, the magician, and then finally the musical act to end. But look, I look at it as a positive in the sense like we finally turned the corner because now we're complaining about live shows again.
Right. We're there now. And we're trying to find ways out of shows. Yeah, no.
Mhm.
There was definitely an element of that. I'm sitting here and I'm wondering, like, how do live shows begin again? How do we get them?
How does that even work?
We did it, baby. We're complaining about live shows. A homeless guy chased me today with a folding chair. I was like, we're back.
Really,
Well,
that
you
happened?
got a good story.
No, I just used that story from 18 months ago when a homeless guy chased me. I just repurposed it.
So while we're on that, like, the prime time of the pandemic, probably sometime around like June, July, when we were all like, I don't fucking have a clue what's happening, right? Like, we have no idea what's happening. I used to go on these walks with my daughter, and I would go on a walk with my daughter every day for like 40 days. I would go on like a 2-hour walk with my daughter because I didn't have anything else to do. And so I would just do this thing. And one of the days I got to down to Ventura and Sherman Oaks, and a guy, a homeless man, got pulled. They jumped in front of us, and I was like, "What the fuck is happening?" And then he pulled out his dick, and then he pissed right like 2 feet away from us. And then he did it like we were vampires. He made a circle around himself, like we weren't allowed.
like you were a bear and he was peeing around.
It's like, I just remember being like, my daughter was so young too. Like, she was like,
To be fair, if someone made a pea circle, I'm not going to
I'm not
cross it
crossing
either.
it.
Like,
I'm
yeah,
not crossing
that's
it.
highly effective.
And I
what you did.
literally turned around and we went the other direction.
What do you think the ratio is? People you could come up to on the street that have seen homeless people defecating in some form. Do you think it'd be 1 out of 5? Do you think it'd be 1 out of 3?
I think if you've lived in LA for a year, you've seen it.
I've seen it. Yeah, I definitely have seen it. You've seen it. So I think the math holds up. It's a lot. It's kind of like you're not really an LA resident until you've gotten 6 parking tickets and seen a homeless guy defecate.
Totally. And I know it's like really like, it feels like almost taboo, like for some reason, for us to talk about homeless people.
Like, because in other areas of the country, it's not quite the same, but like our homeless population is extensive.
And by the way,
see them every day.
Sean and I have been here for 20 years. We have seen so many homeless people in Los Angeles for 20 years. It's not like
so every so often someone will do something funny.
Does something wild.
Yeah.
And the truth of the matter is that I don't want to unsee it. I want to just see it and then have the memory, and then I want to tell people what people are doing.
Yeah. I want to tell people about my experience. You're right. This is just something we deal with. You know how like New York complains about dirty subways? This is our, and then we don't have weather here. So our weather is traffic and homeless people. And that's what we complain about on a daily basis. Like, oh, weather was good. Traffic was good. You see that crazy homeless dude on the intersection? Correct. That's our weather. That's what we just talk about.
Correct. That is so true. If someone asks you how your day was, you might bring up if traffic was good.
Yeah.
Like, that's just a realism of living in LA.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I got everywhere in 10 minutes. It was amazing.
Everyone's like,
right. You tell someone how quickly you got somewhere. And if you get real technical, you can tell them your route. You can say like, oh, Coldwater, down to Ventura, then up, down onto Magnolia. And I was right there.
Ooh, that feels good.
Yeah,
the
that's
fact that you did
insider
that,
baseball.
That
there.
was good.
Right. That
so hot.
It's so hot.
So hot. You know about Fountain.
That's right. Yeah. When you learn about Fountain, then you're like, I'm halfway there, baby. That was my swingers moment when I could describe streets.
I remember one time going to do Mike Perkins' show, which is where we met you when we were doing the show. It was like a couple months before the pandemic. I remember leaving Hollywood. This is for the people that listen to this that give a shit about LA traffic. I was leaving Hollywood, going to North Hollywood. The actual distance that actually is like 4 miles. It's right. Not. It is like 4 miles. And I remember getting in my car and I remember I knew which way to go. I've done it a million times, but I was like, traffic was like really sucky. So I hit the thing and it told me that my fastest option was walking. It really told me the fastest option was just to walk.
Just park, walk home.
Just huck it, dude. I'll never forget that because I remember being like, well, I can't because then I have to come back here and get my car. Like that's if I want to make Mike Perkins' show on time, I will have to walk it.
That is the thing that you just can't understand unless you see it in person, how something will be 7 miles away, but actually 55 minutes.
Yeah.
It's so true. It's so true. By the way the crow flies, something can be 8 miles away, but to you in your head, it could not be more further away. Could not be more impossible. I'm convinced in a couple years, Waze and Google Maps is going to get an attitude or something. And you're going to say like, I need to get this distance. And it's just going to say, good luck, bro. You're a better man than me.
Yeah,
Not possible. Not at
Right.
this.
that's
Yeah.
hilarious. That's
You got some nerve. And you just like, thank you, Google.
LAX at 5 p.m. Waze is like, you got to be out of your fucking mind.
You write navigate and it just comes back. Nah.
Nah, bro.
It's like how people change Siri to like an Australian and it gives them directions, and it's just this attitude.
My younger brother really didn't understand, and my family flew out to visit me one time, and my youngest brother, I was like, hey man, you really don't understand LA traffic. Don't fly in at 5 p.m. and obviously fly in together because I can't go back and forth to LAX because it's not even possible to do. And so he was like, okay. And then he called me a couple weeks later. Was like, oh, my flight's a little later than mom and dad's. I actually get in at 7. They were getting in at 5, ironically. But I was like, I can't pick you up. He was like, what are you talking about? I was like, dude, it will take me 2 hours to get home from the airport and 2 hours to drive back. And he's like, no, it won't. And I was like, no, get yourself a lift. Airport took a lift and it took him 2 hours to get to my apartment. And he was like, what the hell, man?
Yeah.
It's just what we deal with on a daily basis in the big city where traffic is not managed well. It's just, we just know some things are not possible. Have you experienced this where you have a friend or something and the friend moves somewhere and you're like, oh, cool, where are you moving to? And then they tell you, like, well, that's the end of our friendship. Like we will physically never see each other again. I cannot get to Culver. I can't. I can't.
I had a girl move to Culver City and I lived in North Hollywood. And I was like, this is a long distance relationship now.
Should I book a Southwest flight? Do they fly to Culver? We
It's
can't
like
make this happen.
Miles by the crow flies, like you said, but it is realistically an hour and a half away.
It's so true. It's just, it's hard to describe to anybody unless they've been out and back. Try to make that route out and back at least 4 times unsuccessfully.
How long have you lived in LA?
I've been here 6 years.
6
Okay.
years.
6 years. I moved here from Salt Lake City.
Salt Lake City. Okay.
Yeah, where I was living, which is a medium-sized town. And I would come to, go ahead.
Are you from Salt Lake City?
No, not originally. I'm from Texas. I lived in Salt Lake about 10 years. I moved there for work. That's where I started comedy as well. And I tell this to everybody who asks about Salt Lake. You don't know what a hidden gem Salt Lake is. It's mountain range. It's nice people. It's a good sized city that has all the benefits of a good sized city, but without any of the negatives. So traffic is light, cost of living is very affordable.
I shot a show up there and I got to go up there and it was like a 4 or 5 day thing. And they put me up in like right in the middle of downtown in like a nice hotel. And I do agree with you. It was a beautiful experience. I was like, this is really lovely. And but the drinking is actual bullshit.
The drinking takes almost a year of residency to figure out. You're right. They have their own laws, their own rules, their own crazy rules.
They have crazy rules, and you can put a stamp on it. It's bullshit. They
like crazier than Pennsylvania's, like liquor stores.
Crazier than anywhere I've ever been. It felt like I was in The Handmaid's Tale. I was like, this is a crazy place.
It is. It's very unusual for people out of town, which is very backwards because the ski industry is huge there, and you have a huge number of out of towners coming to town every year. And every year they say, like,
how much?
What do I have to do to order a drink?
How much money they're losing in this process.
But like, can you just go to a bar and get a drink, or is that
it's
only with buying?
I like do this like hand gesture, like yes, but like it depends on when. It also, so you can't get a double. You can't get
yes, you know this one. Okay, yeah, I was gonna bring this up.
Double, and you can't get 2 drinks.
What?
So you have. Like if you and I went together, I can't get our drinks. Like you have to be there with me, like to do it. But like not. I mean, that's like okay because
one thing. Yeah.
But they also have these things on the bottles. The
little regulator to make sure you don't over pour.
Go into the system, so it's not even messing around, and it is a regulator. So when they pour you a shot, you are getting one thing in your thing.
You're like 1 ounce.
Here's where it got really strange. I was in my hotel and I was in the lobby bar of my hotel. I was inside my lobby bar of my hotel and I was having a drink And I went to take that drink up to my room, and they were like, "You can't do that." And I was like, "That doesn't make any sense." And they were like, "But you can't." And I was like, "But I'm in here." I'm like, "I'm already side of the building." I was like, "That's it." You also can't buy beer and wine or beer and liquor from grocery stores. The beer you can
Right.
from grocery stores is very low
Okay, it's the
percentage.
lower one.
hmm
Bullshit. And so then when you find a liquor store and a beer place, it's in the sketchiest spots, and it's get to. And so you every time you're at a bar and stuff, it just feels very calculated is the kind of the West. The city's beautiful and it seems like everyone is really nice and all this stuff, but that part was bullshit.
It's very unusual. And then at some point, I'm not religious. I'm not Mormon, but I had a ton of Mormon friends. So at some point, they all tell you how to get around all the little weird arbitrary rules. Like you said, where you can't order a double. You cannot order a double. However, you can order your drink and a shot, and they will give it to you on the side. And then you physically have to pour it in. So you have to make your own double if you want a double.
Wow,
And that is called the sidecar.
the sidecar.
It's called the sidecar. Yeah. It really should be called the caboose if you think about it. But yeah, it's called the sidecar. And then restaurants you can't have a bar with a restaurant.
Yeah.
So in order to get around that, all you need a physical wall. So all restaurants would do was hang a curtain. They would just hang like a shower curtain. And that was called the Zion curtain. And then along those lines, there's a ton of terms for how people will try and essentially get to third base without physically having sex. There's a lot of funny terms, how to like grope each other with jeans on and things like that. It's you wouldn't think you would think this is all made up, but every kind of well-to-do religious Mormon person has about 8 to 10 loopholes on how they get around stuff.
I've heard about that. Like the BYU athletes talk about that, how like they would hook up with people, but they do these loopholes of like it's not sex if it's anal sort of thing.
Right. Yeah. I thought that was a joke for about 5 years. I was like, that's silly. You know, that's a funny joke someone made up. Be like, that's real, dude. It happens. If you think about it, a lot of religion either forces you into a traumatic adult life, or you just get really creative and you just figure out how to get around it.
So I don't, again, whether this is a fact or not, I would never know because I'm dumber than shit. But I do know that this was told to me as a fact when I was there by the crew that was working on the show, because they were all local people. And when I got picked up from the airport, I was talking and I saw a lot of like escape rooms, and there was a lot of them around. And what I was like, Dad, there's just like there's so many. Like this is not
in Utah.
Yeah, like so many more than I would think anywhere to be. Like almost to the level of like 7-Elevens here. Like they were happening on a very regular basis. And I said, when just from the airport to my hotel, I was like, what the fuck is happening with the escape rooms ever? And the guy said that he used to be Mormon, and he said that Utah, Salt Lake City, has the most escape rooms in the entire country. And I was like, that's such a weird, like, hang your hat on.
Yeah.
But he was bringing up the idea of the fact that because people can't drink and have sex and have this sort of a little bit of like extra exciting sort of, you know,
it's a thing they can go out and do.
life.
Yeah.
It's something that pokes the bear a little bit and is like exciting and a little intense and a little thing. And my brain went, I totally buy that.
I see it.
That actually all checks out.
100%. Yeah. Like, because if you suddenly take bars out of the equation,
Yeah.
what do people go do when they go out at night?
Yeah. What do you do? This is a whole religion based on not having any fun.
Yeah. So like, let's make it a little exciting and solve a problem while there's a time going off or something.
If you think about it, it could go no other way. You know, you have a bunch of rules and stuff. It makes total sense that when you look it up, that Utah is probably the biggest consumer of porn per capita, albeit 60% of that was me. But it makes sense that that would happen. I think prescription medication usage was very high per capita there as well. It can't go any other way with suppression.
They also have a recent runoff of what a lot of cities have. I've gone to 2 cities that had within the last handful of years since I had been there, had an Olympics.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I was in Vancouver a couple years after they had the Olympics, and then I was in Utah a couple years or a year after they had the Olympics. And you can see what that does to a place, and you can see how there's like these brand new sparkling buildings that don't have maybe people in them as much anymore, and they were kind of built as for reasons, and there was these things that were built. So they also just had that recently as well.
Yeah, that's interesting. I moved there right after the Olympics as well, or a couple, maybe a couple years after they had the Olympics there. So it was kind of fresh. There's still monuments and decorations were still up for it, which I always thought was kind of cool that the Olympics had happened there for such a winter sports friendly sort of town. Like, talking about towns, you guys said you've been here in Los Angeles 20 years.
Yeah, about 20 years.
Where are you guys from? Where did you guys meet?
We met at school in Los Angeles.
Here.
And the first day of classes, this dates us a little bit, but it also lets you know what it was like our first weeks in LA. Our first day of classes at college together was September 10th, 2001.
So the next day was
Wow.
September 11th, and the real deal. So our second day of school was when that happened.
Really? First of all, your school started late. Your school started in September?
Acting school, baby.
Just feelings.
What school did you guys go to?
Went to a school called the American Academy of Dramatic Arts. It's an acting conservatory, and we showed up there, and a lot of people had just moved to LA. Answer your question, I'm from Omaha, Nebraska. He's from San Diego, California, but we both found ourselves in LA going to school, and we're young kids, and then the next thing you know, like, the whole world gets kind of shaken up, and then we went from there.
That is so, when we think about it now, how dramatic that was. I was in college at the time too, and just how that just sort of wrecked the whole rest of the school year, and just everything sort of became a new normal. And it was just part of our lives. Every year when we have the anniversary for it, I forget how dramatic that was.
It was very dramatic.
Do you remember how patriotic everybody got?
Yeah, everyone got very patriotic. I think a lot of it, because it was I had legitimately lived away from, I was 18. I had moved away from San Diego. I had moved away so young. And then this happened like 10 days into living away from like my family and stuff. I think you're also in such like a fight or flight kind of thing at that moment when you move to Los Angeles to do that. I remember it very vividly that day. And I remember it changing aviation experience from that day on.
Oh, man.
But like, I remember patriotic, and I remember all this stuff. And I remember every year, like for the first handful, it felt like a thing. But I also just remember being like, I remember waking up that morning, seeing it happening on the TV, and then going, do I go to school today? I'm not sure who makes this decision. I think I have to make this decision.
What do we do?
And then I just remember going like, they're not probably going to blow up the American Academy of Dramatic Arts. That feels like the go-to.
Ironically, that would be a little too dramatic.
yeah. That feels like really silly just to blow up a bunch of new actors. Like, we offer very little into this. I remember saying that to my roommate. I think I'm good. I feel like I'm gonna be okay. But yeah, man, dramatic.
I remember that because I just moved to LA as well, and I was in like an apartment with some roommates, and it just was figuring it all out. And we're West Coast, so at like 6 a.m, my mom landline calls my apartment, and my roommate picks it up, and she just goes, "We're under attack." And the roommate like goes to the window and is like looking for helicopters and shit, and he's like, "What's going on?" She's like, "Turn on a TV."
Wow. Yeah, I had the same experience. My mom called me in my college dorm on the landline. She said, "Go turn on the TV. Look what's happening." And then that's how I just started watching it. And it was just from there on, it was just on all day. Every channel had it. And then I think there was the college I was at, they called an assembly to, thinking about it now, like what information could they possibly dispel? But they called an assembly to, I guess, explain it. And then we all sat there and we didn't, who makes the decision? What do you do from there? as
like
a
to keep all these kids from having a breakdown.
Bro, so
Right.
while we're on this, I got to go down this subject. So I teach now at the college that we went to. I was teaching last year when the world ended. And I had this exact experience you guys are just talking about. I'm like one of the young, whatever, quote unquote, cool teachers or whatever. Who gives a shit? But I was asked to go to talk at this assembly. And so there was me and like 4 other teachers there. The Thursday of the world shutting down, basically. And we're there, and like so many students, and it was exactly what you guys are describing, which is this experience. But I was one of the teachers on the stage. And I remember it getting very heated. Students were like, "Why are we here? There's a virus," and da, 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 da. And I remember at one point just kind of stopping the whole assembly and being like, "Hey, if you don't want to be here, you can totally go, and nobody's gonna give a shit."
Yeah.
But I also am telling you right now, the people that are standing on the stage right now are only here, me included, one of the 4, because we don't know what's happening either. So we're just here, and I'm just here. I'm just here. So like we're here, and you're here, but I'm not the guy that knows the answer to this question. And it was such a surreal experience.
You don't know what to say to those people.
No, but they're all looking to me because I'm like their teacher.
You're like also
like,
an adult.
I'm an
quote, unquote.
adult. They're all college students. They're all adults, but like I'm the adult they look to for. Fucking no, bro. Like I don't know.
I don't know, bro. Get that Google Maps back, dude. I don't know, bro.
Even had like I remember on the day it happened, and we went into school on September 11th. We had a substitute teacher teaching our like history, our history class, and he was just like, I don't know what to tell you guys. Like,
how you feel?
If you, he was like, just tell me how you feel. We're not obviously going to study anything. This is so wildly unprecedented, and if you want to go home, you can go home. I don't even know what to tell you.
Wow.
And that was like the first time you listened to like
a grown man be like, I don't think this dude knows what to do.
Yeah. I was like, oh, yeah. Oh, fuck. Like, this is serious. All the very confused and scared.
I went to a liberal arts super duper hippie college, and it was a lot of, okay, this is art history class or psychology class, but screw that. We're going to talk about how everybody's feeling. And it would become sort of a group session for the next, maybe like the next 4 or 5 classes. And it was nonstop, just people spouting. Like, I don't know if it was beneficial at all, but they essentially just like, all right, let's just open up the floor. There was a lot of opening up of the floor in my college classes. So yeah, I remember we just did that, and just, they did the best they could, but nobody knew anything. Nobody knew how to react or how to sort of deal with any of these just dramatic emotions that were happening, and then just genuine fear as well.
I went back and taught high school kids this year in person after having them for the first time, seniors, juniors, and stuff, having them this first time, all online, never had them before. And then at March of this year, they were like, you got to go back in person. And so we're starting their senior year in March, and they're finishing, in May. And I remember that first day. I will never forget that first day of being back in person after all this stuff. And like, all I did for the rest of the semester was exactly what you just said, which was like come in, I'd be like, what do you guys want to fucking do? What do you want to talk about? Like, what do you want to talk about? Like, I was here, but like, I don't know what we're going to do here. Like, I don't have a plan because all the plans are gone.
Yeah. And like your mask stuff.
Yeah, your mask. They were all in these cubicle blocks.
And for, I don't know, like anybody listening, if you've ever tried to do like performance art through Zoom or with a mask on, it is extreme. It's not like studying math or science. You can't go to a monologue with a mask on. It just doesn't work. It's really tough to learn a dance class through Zoom.
Yeah. Good point. You know what I miss about school is movie day. Do you remember when at some point the teacher would roll in the TV and you would be like, thank God. Yes.
A lot of movie days over the last year and a half.
They just like weird stream something.
Oh my gosh.
I love movie day. The rickety TV would be rolled in with the VCR. and they'd plug it in, they'd turn off the lights, and you're just like, I got 45 minutes. This is a free 45 minutes for me. Thank God for movie day.
I went to private schools in Nebraska, and the only reason I bring that up is because like when movie day happened, there was no regulations. They could just play any movie that teacher felt like playing. So it didn't have any, sometimes it had no educational value. And the teacher was just like, this is my favorite movie. And we're all going to watch like Hogan Heroes right now.
I went to high school, and then the teacher rolled in a TV for one of the classes. I'm like, oh, thank God, movie day. And the teacher played 7 minutes of some scene because we were just studying the one part. I was like, what the fuck? What about the rest of the movie? We're not going to watch the rest of this movie and sleep out with our heads on our desks.
What about the movie?
Did you ever watch, like, we watched the original movie, not the Leonardo DiCaprio one, but the original Romeo and Juliet movie that
I think we watched West Side Story once.
Well, the reason I bring it up is because there is like a 1.5, 2 second frame where she gets up out of bed and just runs out of bed and she's topless. And I was at an all boys high school, and our teacher literally sat there and was like, if anyone makes any sound when she is topless, you're all getting detention. There and looked at us while all of us were like, boobs are on the screen. Boobs are on the screen.
I went to an all boys high school also, and it was the cat calls, the yelling from windows. It was Lord of the Flies with desks.
It was like a jail.
It was a jail. It was wrestling all the time. It was who could fart the loudest, who could fart on cue. It was, if you had an attractive mom, you were fucking dead. They would hound you for 4 years about your attractive mom. I felt so bad for one kid. They called him by his mom's first name. They would go like, what's up, Connie? How you doing, Connie? What the fuck? I felt so bad for this kid. It was hilarious. Poor Connie Baker. I still remember her name.
I've ever heard.
They called
him by his mom's name because she was so hot.
Oh,
she was an attractive mom. Yeah. That's how we rolled.
If
that's
so
not already
funny.
in your stand-up, that needs to get it.
Oh my God, that is
all boys Catholic high school I went to was, it was like that. It kind of stunted your growth socially for about 4 years.
Yeah, in a way.
You went to a Catholic school.
Yeah,
too.
I went to an all boys boarding high school. So
wow, you might have had it worse than me.
We did it up. It was like Dead Poet Society-ish, but like way more fun and less suicide. Like, but it was interesting because like it's funny to talk about on a podcast, but you have to like understand the dynamics of Omaha, where it's like a very Catholic city, and there's 2 all boys schools and then 3 all girls schools. And so every weekend they hold a mixer. One of those schools holds a mixer, and all these horny teenagers who haven't seen the opposite sex in a week get together, and all the parents are like, I'm sure they're practicing abstinence. They're not just having sex everywhere at that place.
When we went to Nebraska, played a show there, and we were there for a couple weeks. I had never been. No offense, but I wasn't like, Nebraska wasn't at my top of my list, and
it's not your vacation destination.
No one has Nebraska on their bucket list.
No, but we were there, and I very quickly was like, what is happening with how many churches there are? There are so many churches everywhere you go,
and I'm not sure that even the younger generation is religious, but like there's just a lot of churches.
Yeah. It is funny. Region has a lot to do with it. I grew up Catholic family, Catholic schools. I seriously never knew anybody was not Catholic until I got to college. I didn't know. I think I knew 2 Jewish people ever. And then I went to college and people were, I didn't know you didn't have to be a religion. I like, you cannot go to these things. This is awesome.
Whole thing is optional.
I had no idea that you didn't have to be a religion. So it's just the region where I grew up. Everybody was Hispanic, everybody's Catholic. And you just, that was just, in you. That was just your required reading. Everybody knew it was boring. Everybody went anyway. Everybody went to a quinceañera. Everybody had to get confirmed at age 16. So it was, yeah, it was just everybody does it. I never knew there was an option to not participate.
That's hilarious.
Well, tell me this: you're going to college. What was the plan? Did you guys want to be actors? Did you want to be musicians? Was there comedy in your head at the time?
Well,
What was the intent?
I guess from my perspective, I definitely wanted to be an actor. And then the more that I got on the stage throughout my lifetime, the more I was like, ooh, I really love performing. So originally I moved to LA to become an actor, went to an acting school, and I started playing music when I was about 18 and knew that like maybe this might tie in sometime because I just really loved performing. And so my first love was acting, and then I fell in love with music, and then just kind of did the two of them parallel to each other.
Yeah, I think for both, I went to like I was like an actor since I was a kid, like
Mhm.
5 and stuff. I started acting young, like in like a bunch of stuff with my mom. My mom was an actress and stuff, and so I did it. I'd done it kind of my whole life. I went to like performing arts high school and then junior high as well, and then went right from there to the school. We met, and but I also like I was in like boy bands.
Mhm.
Truth be told, I was in like a bunch of those, and then but we were friends the whole time that I was in a lot of those. I started in high school with those, but once we met, I was in those, and Sean was in other bands, and then we were just best friends though. So like when we would hang out, we say this, but it's not a joke. Instead of playing video games, we would just kind of mess around
Yeah.
with music.
Mhm.
Neither of us were really like obviously taking it very seriously. And then but we were both acting. We finished school. We were both acting. We had both done things and been in movies and TV shows and stuff. And then um, we were doing a play in New York together. And we were like, we should just play a show live sometime. We had 2, 3 songs or something that we had written, and we went to an open mic and we did it, and we had so much fun.
So
And then we were
fun.
like, we got to get back. When we back to LA, we're gonna figure this out. And we figured out the whole thing with the name and the whole like and the look of the whole thing. And then we went to Flappers and boom. And then for both of us, I mean, both of us have always just been like tried to be funny people. Like we like sketch and we like
Mhm.
funny scenarios and like that kind of thing. I think we both try not to take ourselves too seriously.
Growing up, who were your musical influences? What bands were you into?
Oh yeah, this is funny. This is where Adam and I will be
For-
like polar opposites.
For me,
Mm.
it was Garth Brooks and Boys to Men.
Wow, what range on you, Adam.
Thank you so much.
The first
Truly have friends in low places.
really though, the first band I remember like liking was Nirvana. And then I got really into Nirvana and then went kind of down the whole alternative music route, a lot of like rock bands. And then I guess, and then when I got older, I like singer songwriters like Elliott Smith and Bob Dylan and people like that.
Yeah, that 90s era of music, rock and R&B too. I go back on it. I was like, man, such a had an embarrassment of riches.
Yeah.
That 90s music. I'll go back and I'll just find the one-hit wonders. And I'm like, this was everything I would listen. I would just flip on the radio and you were fine. Everything that would play would be fine.
It was just fine. It was just good. It was just gonna.
It was all good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was excellent. The 90s, yeah, music influence is so big. And it's weird to think about how long ago it was. Essentially, when I was a kid in the 90s, and you would have told me, like, what was a good era? The 70s. I would have been like, man, that's old. And now the 90s has become that sort of time frame from us.
I think for us too, like when we met and then we like became such good friends and we became like and we were laid back and all that stuff, and we were we would be lying if we didn't say like we know what Tenacious D is and like seen stuff like that
like
and Flight of the Conchords. It's not to be like, whoa, we were like, that's awesome, that looks fun, and like that seems like awesome. That would be lying if we didn't say that those things didn't impact us, especially the two of us together being like, that is an option.
Mhm.
But we I think also like things like when it came to music for me, I started shifting out of like obviously Garth Brooks and Boyz II Men was when I was younger, but then like I started getting more into like Jason Mraz and that kind of stuff, and like the whole like kind of fast word stuff and wordplay and all that kind of thing that happened. And so when we first started writing, a lot of our songs had like kind of these rap wordplay things on them.
There's some of that in there. We both enjoy, like, where we really meet. We both really like Jack Johnson and Jason Mraz and that kind of like California beachy sound.
Little
and but
sublime
like,
kind
but
of
maybe
thing.
like Sublime, like a little more bluesy. So like a lot of our music falls in that. It's kind of like folk songs. And if you can't, we always like, when we write music, if you can't tap your foot to it, then like, I don't know if it's a very good song.
I see. I was doing my research on you guys and I find all your songs. You know what surprised me though is you guys have these awesome music videos you made too. I was watching the video game one, and first of all, I'm like, where did he get that power glove? And second of all, I'm like, this is the real deal. This is a great video.
Thank you. You know, I got to be honest. I say this about this video all the time. I think if there's anything that really defines how complicated the internet is, the fact that our Nintendo music video does not have more views is bananas to me. Not because I'm biased towards our shit, but just because of the fact of what goes viral these days and what has gone viral for so many things. It fits all of the requirements. Ticks all the
boxes. It's very well done.
It's well done. It's well produced. There's
references.
a whole thing. There's a nerd quality to the whole thing. There's a reference of the whole generation of us growing up that played Nintendo and this whole thing, and we spent time and money and energy on it. And you'll be like, it has like, you know, whatever, how many views. It's not impressive for how long it's been out. But that's what's so weird is like, it just means that that's the thing with the internet is people just don't know everything that's out there.
But then like a person putting a French fry up their nose will get like 45 views.
The like, Chewbacca mask lady.
Yeah. Like, why does that happen?
If there's anything that's confused us more as comedians, it is exactly that. Like we were just talking to a comedian who was talking about the idea that she's like, if somebody sends me a video to book me for a show, I don't even watch it. I'll only watch it if they send me like a TikTok. I'm like, oh my God. That's crazy, because at the end of the day, someone might have a legitimate special that they just sent you that looks really nice. And you're like, I don't even watch
and that was her complaint. She was like, I get these videos and unfortunately, like, production quality is tough. Like, it's hard to make something that looks and sounds good. And if you're sitting at home, like, I could make a movie, go try to make a movie and make it look and sound good. And you'll be like, holy crap, that's hard. And you need a lot of money.
Yeah. And then these days, knowledge, we're all essentially running little mini production studios out of our apartment bedrooms.
In particular, and like, it's funny, like the best example of this is like that 2 weeks where they did Saturday Night Live and all the cast members were at their own home. And then across the board, you were like, oh, the only difference between like sketch comedians I know and people on Saturday Night Live is a budget. That's because you saw them with no budget doing it at their house. And you're like, this is no different than like the Zoom show my friend put up.
Right.
Yeah. It's simultaneously the best time to live and the worst time to live, because everything you need to make your video, edit your video is literally in your pocket. And then though it's the worst time to live because everybody's doing that and putting up a wide range of quality of stuff. And everybody has to sift through the same pool to find each other. And it's virtually impossible. Your frustrations are definitely understood by me and several other people.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's why at the end of a movie, there's like 200 names that get listed, because like, sure, you could shoot it, edit it, and try to like color correct it and sound edit yourself. But holy moly, everybody's got a job.
Yes. Yeah. Was you went into the music right away? Was there ever just straight comedy or sketch as an interest for you guys? You always had music on the brain.
Yeah, I mean, for us together.
Yeah, because we were both like doing that, just acting. Like we would go on auditions for our own acting stuff. And then, like he said, we would get together just as friends. And instead of playing video games, we would write silly songs. And then eventually we played those silly songs at parties. And the people at parties were like, why are you not playing these for other people? And then that's kind of where like the seed got planted. We played at 2 or 3 of like our own house parties and played the 2 songs we knew, and it made everybody laugh. And we were like, oh, maybe we should try this out somewhere else.
And we don't even play those songs anymore.
Yeah,
like, we don't even play those songs. We eventually had like 3 or 4 songs, and we went to Flappers open mic. Someone was like, Sean was like, there's an open mic at this place. And so we went. We had never been in that scene, yet we had lived in LA for 10 years and been actors. I had been in movies and television shows and done this stuff. We had just never dabbled in the stand-up comedy scene. Both of us liked stand-up comedy. Both of us enjoyed the concept of it. So it was very interesting for us to go into it very differently, and also backwards, because at that point also I had a theater that I'd been running for about 5, 6, 7 years at that point when we got into it as a band, probably 5 years at that point. And so it was like also interesting to go to these venues and have venues be like, this is how it works. And I was like, yeah, but I have my own space. I know how this works. Like that was sort of an interesting backwards thing that was interesting. And just learning for us, the like comic vibe is very different than the actor vibe.
I see. Yeah, I would agree with that. I'm curious to see how you notice it from your end of things. So you talked about the Flappers thing before. You said, how long had you guys been kicking around town before you decided to go to an open mic at a comedy club to see if you could start getting on stage in that way?
We got really lucky. We did it once.
We got extremely lucky. We went.
But you had been in town performing your music for a while before that, though, right?
We performed at our own theater that we had, so it's kind of like that's very easy to get stage time when you run the place. But so we played at like a.
So it was we played some house parties. We played our theater, and then we had a friend that did the Comedy Central stage at the Hudson, and they were a friend of ours who just knew we were funny or whatever, and had seen us done a song or something, and we sent them the tape of us just like doing it in our room. They booked us for an hour. They were like, you can have the special, we'll tape it, and this whole thing. We were like, what are you talking about? And so they just have to pack it up. Well, we had never done anything like that. We had not played any open mics, no clubs or anything like that. And so we did, and we packed the place up. It got us at the time decent footage. But we also just like we learned a lot from that, because it was just like the first time that people were like, dash out. It was like a very rock and roll thing. And it was crazy and it was chaotic. And then we went to Flappers open mic. Barb happened to be there.
Yeah, the owner of Flappers.
Happened to be at the time when we did one song, and she booked us to headline like the next weekend.
Yeah, like we went on to their open mic on like a Tuesday or Wednesday, and we got to do 1 minute. Everybody got 3 minutes or something, and so we got to do one song rather. And right after the open mic ended, she was like, "I want to talk to you too." And then that Saturday, she gave us like 10 minutes on Saturday night.
Well, this is why I want to ask. I think I was at that audition show. I want to say this was circa 2014-ish.
That would make about sense.
That makes sense.
It would have been about the year I moved here, and I would just look up open mics, and I would go to everything, because I remember you guys, like you might have had the very first spot on the audition show, which this happened. Everybody goes to Flappers. They see open mic, they sign up, and then they go, okay, the audition show starts in 30 minutes. And everybody goes, audition show? I thought this was, everybody does this. And then you get freaked out, you get in your own head, and then they essentially just have an open mic, but they watch you to see if they can put you on other shows. And I do remember you guys doing a song about the year I moved here and went to those audition shows. So I might have been at that very audition you talked about.
That does check out. That is about
2014.
And
it's about the time when it started kind of moving around a lot more, like right around that time.
Because a lot of clubs claim they do audition shows, but I gotta give Flappers a thumbs up in that, like, their owner and their booker actually attend their audition shows. And so if you do one, you could get booked and do a weekend. A lot of comedy clubs are like, our booker is there, and their booker's not fucking there. They're just having a mic.
Yeah, I think so. I think everybody has that one horror story where they're like, the booker told me I was good. Who'd you talk to? I talked to Tina. No, Tina works here. You're like, oh, come on. Or like, Tina, she quit last week. You're like, oh my God, we'll go stand at the back of the line again.
we got lucky, but we also are very aware of the fact that we just do something that's very different. And so like, that's going to be its own thing. And that part has been a part of contention when we've gone places. In the beginning, I think it intimidated both of us probably a little bit. Like we felt like people were like, the guys with the props or something like that. And then after just doing it for a while and realizing that like fuck those people, but like
And
just
funny is funny too.
yeah,
Like,
funny's funny, and like we're confident in what we do, and like we also again started to learn that line of like the comic and the actor line, like what are we doing when we walk into a room of comics, and what are we doing when we walk into a, you know what I mean? I
Hmm.
think that took some time on our end. That part of being a comic is something that I think that a lot of people don't understand, is like you just kind of have to sort of be backstage with people and learn the vibe and learn how to navigate that world. It's sort of oddly intimidating in the beginning.
Yeah, as coming from that side of it, what do you think the differences are between stand-up comic to the two-person musical duo act?
uh, well, like there's some similarity. Like the easiest part is that you have someone to share the experience with. So if it doesn't go well, you have someone on the ride home. You can be like, man, that was kind of brutal. Whereas like I'm sure, every stand-up comedian bombs sometime, and I'm sure that's a lonely car ride home that evening.
Yeah, you do a lot of yelling in your car.
Yeah.
As he laughs. Yeah, Sean and I have always been able to kind of like assess together what happened. And I really think that's
Yeah.
actually pretty helpful and not so painful
Yeah.
in some ways.
And it helps like make it real too. Cause if I walk off and I'm like, that was pretty good, he can be like, are you sure about that? Like,
Mm.
Yeah, like
or vice versa. I
'cause-
could be like, that was shitty. And he's like, nah, we were really good.
yeah, but also like I think the biggest difference is like for us, like when we show up places and we do something, it's a little bit more of a thing. And what I mean by that is like usually we're wearing like matching outfits. Like we try to look like a band. We have a guitars, and we need two mics, and we have to plug in some things. So we're just definitely like a little bit more of a thing. So what we've realized over the years is that a lot of places don't want us to go like they usually have us go at the end because we come on with so much like kind of craziness and energy in the whole thing. um and so for some people, that's when we're not done that and we do our thing, it can be, I don't know what the word is, but the idea is like we don't funny's funny to me,
Yeah.
and funny is funny, and we've
Yeah.
really kind of started to like more embraced the idea of like we're not here to hurt anybody, we're just here to have fun with everybody else. And I think the real good ones and the good guys and the good comics and the good men and women that have done this with us, like they just see it and they go, those guys are funny and they're professionals and they keep it together.
We've never had a problem with comedians after we've performed.
Yeah.
We've had kind of like, we felt like cold shoulder type before we've performed.
Right.
Mhm.
But then after we perform, usually that same person will be like, I don't even like musical comedy, but I liked what you did.
Yeah.
Something that's like a compliment and a put down at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of that from comics, sort of the backwards compliment, the sort of like, hey, I don't really like what you do, but you did good to. There's a lot of that, where they kind of pay you the weird compliment.
So we're going on and we put on these like a bit of these personas, a bit of like these big, rock star, ridiculous. I wear a lot of jewelry, hair's flying around the room, and we're very aware of what it looks like, which is why we know that it's having an impact.
Yeah.
Also aware of the fact that that's also going to bug some people. Because it just is going to bug some people. So whatever.
Well, yeah, I've seen your act. You're right. You wear you have clothing, you have matching clothing, you have the jewelry, you have the hair, but you're right. There's a persona. Did you base that ideal off of anything? Where did that come from? That you're like, this is going to be our stage persona and costuming and look.
Well, like right, we were walking down Boulevard in Burbank where there's all these thrift stores, and we walked in one day and we were just looking around at bullshit, and we found these two matching sport coats that were like this checker plaid. One was plaid with white and green, and one was white and blue, and they were matching in their style. And we were just like, these are perfect, and we bought them. And so that was the first like costume we got. But ever since the beginning, we've wanted to be rock stars.
Yeah.
Just straight up, that is the character. We are the biggest band in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Whether we play at a whatever small place or this, and we always notice that like we have to sometimes remind ourselves that even if we're going, I mean, you've played at shitty places, we've played at some really shitty places that are like not a lot of people, and we just go treat it the same.
Mm-hmm.
like it's the Staples Center, and go at it like that. And I think that that allows the persona to go. But also, let's be clear, just like anything that, this gets better with time. And I really think we've only gotten stronger, better with our stuff, our our interaction, our banter that's something that just progressed over time. As we started to feel more comfortable, we actually took some advice from Dave Reinitz at Flappers, gave us some good advice about just letting us he's like, you guys just need to talk more with each other.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that is an interesting piece of advice. You wanted you guys to converse in between the songs.
yeah, and he actually forced us to do a show once and not play a song.
I had to wear the guitar, and he was like, "You guys are gonna do." I think it was a 7-minute set without playing a song.
Yeah, and
How'd it go?
It was great.
Yeah, at the time it was
interesting.
fine. It was probably in my head more. I'd feel perfectly fine doing that now.
Yeah, growing pains.
I'd feel perfectly fine doing that now. I think before it was like we were just so concerned about what are our jokes, but now it's like we know how to set them up, but also more than we can just riff off each other. And that was the thing, is we've had to remember that we're best friends and we can trust each other. And if he goes down a place, we'll just go with it.
Yeah.
But when you have your stuff and your time, and for us, the music is part of the deal, of course. It's part of the selling thing, but the idea is also like the songs are the songs. Those times are not negotiable. Like time of the song is what it is. So when someone's like, you guys have 5 minutes or 10 minutes, we have to be like, okay, so like if we do talk, we got to kind of keep it a little tighter because the songs are not negotiable on their time.
It's like a sketch. It'll be this long every time.
I gotcha. Yeah.
It's easy for us not to run the light because we'll just be like, can we play 3 songs? And then they're like, it'll be over after your 3rd song.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. You essentially can give yourself your own light. Like, we know when we've got a minute to go. How about this? How about the writing process for you guys? I think of writing stand-up, and for me, it's something. For another stand-up, it's totally different. But what about writing music? Not only has to be funny, but you're putting it into a song and you're putting it into time. And then do you have a beat in mind, a melody in mind before? Does that come after? How does it work for you guys?
It's been column A, column B. Every so often, Adam may come to me with a melody, and then we can go from there, or I'll send him a guitar riff. But there have been probably as many songs as we've written, like with an idea one of us brought and then we made. We've probably written just as many songs completely out of nowhere. Like he'll say, just start playing something when we're hanging out together, and I'll start playing something, and then we'll hum a melody that will go with it, and then now we've got a melody and music, and now what do we sing about? And we've written so many songs just free thought. It's so weird. You just gotta like let your brain go a little bit and try to be funny.
Yeah,
I find that it's tough. So I play the piano as well, but I can use that to like write some stuff, and I'll send him a little riff or an idea or something like that, and he can send me back something. My piano skills are not anywhere close to his guitar skills though. So I don't feel super comfortable being like, let me play piano like super live on stage. I don't know. It's not part of the deal. So that quality has to work as well. Like I have to send him something that he can hear as well, and that he can kind of find a good vibe on. But we do talk about the ideas, the melodies. To me, for both of us, they have to be right. The melodies have to feel like something that you actually want to bob up and down to. And like any jokes, that's the one thing, is sometimes we've spent so much time on some songs that sit in our library that are they're complicated, they're hard, and they're rhythmically strange, or their rhymes are crazy.
Or it's like a really good song, but we can't get a punchline.
Yeah.
Like we have this one really fun song about like an ex and like her boyfriend's an MMA fighter, and we just can't find the last joke to button this song up.
Yeah. And then sometimes we'll just spend a long time on a song, and we're just like, this song is cool, but it doesn't slap like
right. And then on the polar opposite end of that, we also have a song, which is one of our favorite songs, called The Cayman Island Sea. The first time we played it together, we started both laughing. Like we'd only written like one song of it, and it was one line of it. And we both were laughing so hard that we were crying and fortunately, we always bust out the recorder on our iPhones whenever we're doing shit. If we think something is even half good, we start recording it. And like 6 months later, Adam was like, "Do you remember this thing that made us laugh so hard that one night?" And he played it, and I was like, "Oh my God, yes." And then that song took like 9 months to write, but it was because we couldn't stop laughing when we would play it.
How do you like a stand-up comic comes to the stage with some new ideas, like I'm gonna try out some new stuff. How do you try out new stuff?
Well, that's the worst for
it's
us.
hard.
It's not. You have to.
gotta
We
be
have
brave,
to practice
yeah.
the shit out
Yeah,
of it.
I'd imagine a lot more prep goes into just trying something new for you guys.
Even like the songs that are like exceptional we know we could always play, they're that way because we played them live 500 times.
Right.
Like, and weren't that way the first time we played them live. Like everything gets a little bit tighter each time, or we were like, we need to rewrite something.
And I think because of the fact that we are also on.
My wife brought in cocktails.
Thank you.
Why I was just.
She has her top.
I might have some questions for her next.
When we, because of the persona of us going on stage as like the greatest band that you've never heard of, and we have this thing, we do have like, I think that's where the actor part comes in. Like we have a perfectionist, like showman. We've talked about this. You know what bothers me the most about stand-up comics? When they use their phone or when they read off.
Once you bust your phone out on stage, go home.
When
you're not fucking entertaining people holding a phone,
or you have your notebook. I'm just not into it for the time that someone's at like flappers in the main room.
I can live with the notebook. It's the phone for me. I'm completely with. But if you have to unlock and put in your code on your phone while you're on stage, go home. You're not a fucking entertainer.
You're just not ready.
Ready for this moment.
And so to me, like I've never, that part took us a while to get used to, like the idea of like the lack of preparation.
Yeah.
We're not questioning the writing, we're questioning the lack of preparation. And so the idea is that like if you're at Flappers where they charge 2 drinks and the food and there's a thing and people are out there and
this person is paid $80 or more for their date.
Like understand your role and understand your purpose is to like be like, wow, I came to see people do something I can't do. But a lot of people could get up there and read off of their notebook. Whether it's good or not, we'll decide. But like so I think that's a big part of us. Is so we have a couple new songs recently that we're like, okay, but we kind of have to practice the shit out of them until we get. Fortunately, we have a place like Loft, that like the theater where we can go on stage and it's not, the stakes aren't too high and they're not per people have spent a bunch of money to go there and stuff of that nature.
And like they say, and it's the same way for us as a comedy band. There's a phrase that like every comedian needs a stage where they can be bad.
Correct.
And it's the same way with us.
It's a good point. Yeah.
You have to go to open mics and try something that probably doesn't work yet. And it's a half idea, but you maybe have something there. So you got to try it. And that's happened with us tons of times. We've had songs we played once and we're like,
that'll be it. That'll be it.
That'll probably.
Yeah, you're right. The preparation, the effort has to be there. And a lot of times it starts in the car driving over. Right. You're like, I don't want to go to this. I'm just going to bomb. Coldwater's going to be busy over the hill. I don't want to go. But you're like, all right, I got to go. If I'm just going to, if I make it to the parking lot, okay, then I got to get out of the car. If I get out of the car, then I got to sign up. And you're just sort of bribing yourself all the way. I was going to this late night open mic on Sunday nights. It was at the Hollywood Improv and it would go to about 1 a.m. And I would want to quit at about 11:30. I'd be like, I'm going home. They're never going to get to my name anyway. And I would bribe myself with food. I was like, all right, you make it till 12. You could get drive-through on the way home. That's what I would do. I was like, just hang out till 12, right? Write notes in your notebook, treat it as a time to write. If they get to you, they get to you. But if you make it till 12, you're getting a quarter pounder from McDonald's on the way home. That's how I would bribe myself. And you have to do it. And it's the most excruciating thing.
Yeah, how intense that situation is what you just described.
Yeah.
Because most people would be like, why the fuck do you do this? Right? Like,
yeah.
That question is so crazy to a lot of people because of what you just said. Just to do 3 to 5 minutes at 1 o'clock in the morning
at a reputable comedy club. Yeah.
You're like, I just sit here all day.
Right. Yeah. It's easy to lose motivation past. Yeah. When you've sat in a hard chair for more than 45 minutes just waiting.
It's tough, and it's really tough it's almost impossible to do that with two people coordinating. Like we went to the Improv does an open mic where you draw out of a bucket.
Yeah.
You have a ticket and you put your ticket in, they draw. And so not everybody gets to perform. Well, we came matching outfits. I brought an amp and a guitar and I plugged everything up to do the show, and we didn't get called.
We sat in the front row. Just let us pop on.
Let us
pop off.
We'll do a song. And the guy running it was even like, I'm so sorry. He's like, I would just do it because like there's
we watched a crazy
comedian.
Speaking of homeless people, we watched a homeless guy get up on stage and rant because his name
I might have been at that open mic as well. It's a good open mic when the host apologizes at some point.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah, sorry about that last 2 minutes. We'll never get back.
I always like asking this question. Do you remember when you bombed the hardest?
Yeah.
This question on this show before, but
the hardest, yeah, I've got a bunch of them for sure. But I definitely remember one where I was doing a show at a place Friday night and Saturday night. Friday night went really good. And then it came to Saturday night, did the same thing. Crickets, bombed. And remember at one point I could hear a lady in the crowd say after a punchline, really? I could hear her say, really? And then I just had to muddle through. And then it's such a traumatic experience. It's like a car accident. Your senses go into different places. You're mouthing the words, but you're not really in control of the words. And I could see the wait staff doing stuff in the back. I could see one like folding table napkins. Yeah, my senses were elsewhere because I knew it was going so bad. And it was like I was trying to remove myself from the situation. But I remember a lady went, really? Right in the front row. I could see her. We made eye contact and everything.
That's so awesome. What's your favorite place you've ever done comedy at?
Well, where I started in Salt Lake, when I go back there for weekends at the clubs, they have amazing shows and a great club. Again, it's one of those things you would never think Salt Lake is a good comedy town, yet a local headliner will sell out the club. So they appreciate comedy. They love it. So I love going there.
Lake City, I believe. That's like got pretty viral.
Yeah, it does. It's surprising. A lot of stuff surprises me there. Surprises me about that place. That's great. Here in town, I perform a lot at Flappers like you guys. If you get a good Friday or Saturday night in the small room or even the big room, you get a good amount of people going. Yeah, it works really well. The room is set up perfectly for it. And that goes really well too. So yeah, those two main spots. Also, I perform there so much that there's a comfort level. Yeah. I was like, I'm going to get in and I'm going to hit the stage. I'm going to do my thing. You're not worried about how long, where do I park? How long is a walk? Is it? Who do I check in with? Like, you just know you're going to do your thing.
Right.
All right. In honor of you guys, I always finish out the show with the head-to-head Rotten Tomatoes movie game. Okay. And I always think of a theme for the guests, but I got an extra theme for you guys as an appreciation to you guys and your costumes. I love your costumes. I love the blazers. So I thought I would add my own blazer to the Rotten Tomatoes part.
We didn't even wear blazers tonight. I'm so sorry.
I know you guys went super cash on me.
We match though, at least.
Yeah, we match. My house doesn't have central air conditioning, and it's like 110 degrees in Southern California these days.
So look at
it
that.
Is hot. Yeah, it is. It is blasting.
Or a brown? What is that? It's like a maroon.
It's like a maroon. Yeah, I've got like an old timey Vegas smoking jacket going here.
Raisin?
Yeah, like a raisin color.
like a faded pewter, kind of a sun-blasted pewter, kind of a homeless pewter.
Old copper tool.
Okay, here's how the game works, gentlemen. There are a few ways to score points. Right. I will read you the description of the movie. When you think you know the movie, shout it out. You can get a point that way. Okay. Then when I've read the two movies and you know the two movies, you're going to try and guess which one has the higher Rotten Tomatoes score.
Okay.
I got to practice one for you to get into it.
So do we like buzz or do you just shout out?
Just shout it out. Just shout it out,
Mhm.
and I will
Decide.
confirm if it is correct or not. But your theme is movies that have a memorable music scene in them.
Okay.
And your description is going to be of the music scene.
Okay.
Okay, here we go. Movie number 1, practice 1. Just get loose with it. Description. 2 brothers perform in a dingy honky-tonk. Confused to be playing behind chicken wire, the brothers soon find out why. While the duo doesn't fully win over the crowd, they hit the road with increased enthusiasm to the next gig. Do you know this movie, Adam and Sean?
No idea.
I haven't the foggiest idea.
This is going well.
I mean,
This is a practice.
the chicken wire.
The chicken wire threw me.
Chicken wire threw me.
And I feel like that should be what I would know it from.
Yeah, I feel like I've seen this scene too with the chicken wire.
Okay, it's a practice one. What is it?
Is it?
The movie is from 1983, Blues Brothers.
Okay.
Ah,
Do you remember that scene? Is it ringing a bell now?
Not for me.
You never saw Blues Brothers?
I've seen Blues Brothers.
All right. Movie number 2, yell out when you know it. 2 damaged characters travel to Omaha to perform in a karaoke competition for a prize of $5,000. Finding his long-lost daughter, he brings her along for the ride.
It's in Omaha, Sean.
I know
How do
it's
you not
set
know
in my
this?
hometown.
Yeah, we got Omaha in this one.
First, I was like, "This is about Schmidt," and then I was like, "This is not about Schmidt." So, karaoke singing.
I don't know.
Bringing his daughter to this karaoke tournament in Omaha.
Yes, for $5,000. This was for a grand prize of $5,000.
Is this another 80s movie?
Well, it's a practice, so I can tell you, no, it is not from the 1980s. A little bit of a deep pull on this one, I have to admit. That's why I put it in the practice.
Bro, I don't think you realize how bad I am at anything that's
Adam is not a
question.
cinephile. In fact, he has told me he refuses to watch movies twice. There's only like
Refuse to watch movie? What do you mean? Refuse to watch a specific movie or just movies in general?
If I've seen the
movies in
movie
general.
once, I'm
He
good.
never watches it again.
Really?
Yeah,
I
he
just-
doesn't do like I've seen Lord of the Rings 15 times.
I'm good.
I saw that movie once and I never watched it again.
Lord, yeah, I can go with you on Lord of the Rings. That's an afternoon.
Boo!
Hold on. What movie was this shit you
Yeah,
just said?
we have no idea.
This movie was from the year 2000, Duets. Do you remember this movie with not only Gwyneth Paltrow, but Huey Lewis is the guy who finds a long lost daughter? Not a well-known movie.
I definitely don't know this.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's your matchup.
Let's
Blues
do-
Brothers versus Duets. Who has the higher Rotten Tomatoes score?
Oh, that's gotta be Blues Brothers.
Blues Brothers.
It has to be.
Blues Brothers 73%, Duets 21%. You got it. You would have scored 1 point. See, there you go.
There we go.
See, that's duets. Like,
I've never even heard of that movie.
It was bad. It's highly skippable.
did you watch it?
I knew of the movie. I never seen it, but that I watched the preview and I think I wanted to throw my shoe at my own computer. There was a part where Gwyneth Paltrow was singing and it could not be more cringeworthy. The part that upsets me is like, she thinks she's doing well. I'm like, who told you could be singing with Huey Lewis? I'm half upset for Huey Lewis.
Like Russell Crowe and Layman.
Yeah.
Okay, we got through the practice.
Here we go.
Now on to the real deal. We got 3 matchups. Here we go.
This.
Movie description number 1, memorable music scene from this movie. After being weary from the road, a band on the brink of stardom endures turbulence on a plane. Once it subsides, the band calms themselves by singing in unison.
Almost Famous.
From 2000, the movie is Almost Famous.
Yes.
They sing Elton John's Tiny Dancer.
They do. And then like they're about to crash and it's like the keyboardist or the bass player because he thinks he's gonna die. He's like, I'm gay.
Right. I forgot about that part.
Sean.
Right. Yeah. Then they all sing it out and it's all good. Movie number 2. Here we go.
Yep.
Yell it out when you know. An eccentric, childlike man is on the search for his bicycle. His journey to find it leads him to a
Herman.
biker bar.
Pee Wee Herman's Big Adventure.
From 1985, the movie is Pee Wee Herman's Big Adventure.
Tequila.
I see that.
Here was the last sentence of that description. Here's the last sentence I was going to read. To win the crowd over, he dances on the bar to an iconic song, which only has one word for a lyric.
Yes.
What a weird song. It's the whole song. They just say tequila in strategic spots.
I love the very beginning of that movie, the Rube Goldberg machine he has to that like makes him his eggs and toast.
Oh, yeah.
I never.
Pee Wee Herman for 1985. We have to ask ourselves, was this good or were we starved of entertainment at the time? I don't know if we'll ever find the answer to that question because Pee Wee Herman's Big Adventure is kind of a fun movie, but yet it's a totally farcical just idea.
Yeah. Like, how do you explain Ernest?
Ernest is another one. Yeah, you're right. Ernest, a police academy could probably be thrown in there.
Academy could be in there. Ernest made like 7 movies.
Yeah.
Right.
And they
yeah.
were hilarious in the middle.
Ernest, he went to jail. He saved Christmas.
But it's an Ernest
Went to
similar. And Ernest feels similar to like Medea.
In a way,
Might be right. He might be our Medea.
You know, like kind of in like this, like you just found a character that has a niche and that people are like,
enjoy it.
I like that thing.
Yeah. And then you just keep ringing the cloth, saves Christmas, goes to jail, sells Herbalife at some point.
Yeah.
I don't think you can go wrong. Yeah. So your movies are Almost Famous versus Pee-wee's Big Adventure. Take me through your thought process.
Rotten Tomatoes, Almost
I
Famous.
feel like it's got to be Almost Famous because it's like Cameron Crowe's best movie or most famous movie. So probably
Almost Famous, final answer.
Yeah, I think so.
Almost Famous is fresh at 89%. Wow. Pee-wee's Big Adventure is fresh at 87%.
Oh,
You're on fire so far. You got 3 in a row here.
Ooh.
Okay, you got 3.
That big brain we got.
Yeah.
Round number 2. Here we go. Description. A high school senior has the house all to himself when his parents go out of town. After being told not to touch the stereo, he does just that, strips off his pants and puts on sunglasses.
Risky Business with Tom Cruise.
From 1983, the movie is Risky Business. You got it. 4 points.
Well, I don't have to say shit.
Yeah, I would just say Sean's got 4 points. Adam's, I needed to put this head to head, Adam against Sean. Movie number 2. A reluctant time traveler is forced to play at a high school dance. The dance is significant to his own future. When he pulls it off, he is encouraged to play one more song that really cooks.
Back to the Future.
From 1985, the movie is Back to the Future. You got it.
Well, I didn't
Johnny
get it.
Be Good.
Sean gave it to me.
You guys truly, you totally yes-anded that answer. Risky Business versus Back to the Future. What do you think? A little tougher here.
I don't even think it's
Back
close.
to the Future is a classic. I'd be shocked if the Rotten Tomatoes was low.
Risky Business is fresh at 92%.
Wow.
Back to the Future is fresh at 96%. You're at 5 points.
Back to the Future is like many people's favorite movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Yeah, you're right.
It's like Risky Business.
No.
Yeah, not one person I know is like
favorite
Risky
movie is
Business.
19.
Guys, put on Risky Business, will you?
There are people that are like to this day that are like Back to the Future, not even a question.
My jam.
Risky Business, a little bit. I would say older crowd, edgy too. You think about it, basically a high school senior hires a bunch of prostitutes to bang his friends.
Now, I don't think one person was like, that was the winner of all the movies. Not one person.
People
Back to the Future has been the movie for so many people still to this day. They're like, yeah, that's the winner.
100%. Like any movie that's not Top Gun is not going to be beating Back to the Future for Tom Cruise movies.
Correct.
Like maybe the Mission Impossibles, but like Back to the Future is a cinema classic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Back to the Future is definitely held as canon.
Yeah.
For sure. I think as far as movie making, music, I forget what the music in that movie is so iconic. And just the idea that this kid hangs out with an older dude and they go on adventures, we sort of gloss over.
And everything Biff says, like, make like a tree and get out of here.
Right. I never heard the term butthead before that movie. Did you ever hear butthead before Back to the Future?
I did because I have 2 older brothers.
Yeah. It's the Simpsons.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Simpsons started throwing that shit around. But I guess, but no, they would have been before the Simpsons.
Right.
Right before the Simpsons.
5 years.
I definitely heard the word butthead. And I was like, I need to go to school. I need to use this word butthead. I need to use it on my friends immediately.
Place.
I'm going to call my friends buttheads. I cannot wait.
Like insults that are okay to say on TV. Have you never ever noticed that they're not really used in real life? But I think it's so funny if you were actually mad and called someone a moron. Because no one, when you get mad, you're like, you moron, you're such a big you'd say something much more hurtful.
You would. Yeah, you would. You're essentially just sort of thinking of words and it never comes out insultful. It just comes out as weird. Did you ever call someone a fathead in school? Remember that one?
Fathead.
That one. Yeah, had a lot more. Didn't have a lot of ammunition behind it.
Yeah. If someone's like, you fucking dork,
I'd be like, wow, the fuck was really intense, but the dork, I didn't really give a shit.
Yeah, if someone says an F word at you,
that's why we had to start calling each other our mom's first names. We didn't have good insights.
That's such a funny story.
Connie
Baker.
Connie. Oh my God.
You guys are rolling on a perfect score right now. So last round, let's see if you can keep it up. Oh man, I got high hopes. Okay, here we go. Movie, yell it out when you know. 2 hometown friends with a public access TV show set out for a night out. To set the mood, they play a rock anthem in their car, complete with harmonies, falsettos, and the popularization of headbanging.
You know? I know 100%. I'm going to see if Adam's got it.
No.
It's like they sing a Queen song in the car, and it makes
Oh God. Oh,
you
God.
know it.
Oh God.
Party on.
Yeah, party on.
Adam, bring it home, Adam. What are you thinking right now?
I know their names.
That's the name of the movie. It's
Wayne's World.
Yeah.
You got it. 1992. The movie is Wayne's World. It took us a little bit, but it made it. It made it.
Queen is one of the biggest bands ever. I would not know who Queen was if it wasn't for that movie.
Me too. Yeah, me as well.
That scene with Bohemian Rhapsody, that's the reason I know that song.
Yeah. I never knew. I watched, 1992. I'm 12 years old. I saw that movie. I never knew Wayne and Garth were like uncool townies in that movie. I thought they were like the coolest guys in town. It took me forever to be like, no, they were the dorky guys that hung around town and they didn't have jobs. Like, you just don't know. And then you watch that movie for the like 8th and 9th time. And then you hear all the jokes that you didn't understand as a kid because there are all these like music references. When he says rough night, huh? Everybody's kung fu fighting. I didn't know that was a song. I just thought that was a funny thing he tried to say.
I love when they walk up to the club at the beginning and they ask who are the bands that are playing and they list all the bands and one of them they goes, and the Shitty Beatles. And he goes, they suck. So it's not just a clever name.
Right. Or like when he's telling Garth, hey, Led Zeppelin didn't write songs everybody liked. They left that to the Bee Gees. And I was like, what the hell is a Bee Gee? I don't know what he's talking about, but that is funny.
That is funny.
You got that one right. Last movie.
Game, dude.
Nice. Well, you guys are doing pretty good at it too.
We're getting the big head now.
Right. Okay. Well, let's see if you know this one. Royalty from another country come to New York in search of a wife. While searching, they are led to a gymnasium where a local soul band perform a cover of one of the most iconic songs, but in their own rendition.
Coming to America?
From 1988, the movie is Coming to America.
Yes.
You guys are perfect. Sexual Chocolate.
Yeah.
Sexual Chocolate.
Well, to that movie. Like,
really?
Yeah.
That was a good movie in the sense that, you'd watch it with your friends and then like the one dude goes, that boy can sing. Like he does it like, when he's watching them. Right. And then after that, me and my friends, every time somebody sang, we would look at each other and we would go, that boy can sing. Like it was the ultimate kind of recall of a movie
It
line.
was one of the best movies for just quick quotes. Oh my god, that there's dozens of them. You just like pick whichever one. My friends, we'd always used to like whenever somebody like did their hair, even if it had nothing to do with it, you'd just be like, let your soul.
Soul Glow was a good one. I like when he points to the map thinking he's looking for royalty, and he points to the map and he goes, take us to Queens, thinking that is the epitome of royalty for New York. So, gentlemen, to keep a perfect score, your movies are Wayne's World versus Coming to America.
Ooh,
Which one has the higher Rotten Tomatoes score? What do you think for a perfect score?
I think Coming to America. I think that there were some reviewers that didn't get Wayne's World and gave it a bad review.
Are we in agreement? Sean, you're making a face.
Oh, and I think Coming to America
I'm
is
with him,
is just a movie that so many people are like it's at the top of so many,
especially the
lists.
first one. The first one, again, it's like it's a classic comedy movie. Coming to America.
Coming to America. Okay. Wayne's World is fresh at 78%. Coming to America, 72%.
Oh,
Big upset from Wayne's World on this one.
Oh, both
Big.
were in the 70s. I'm shocked at both of those results.
I'm a little surprised at Coming to America. I would have probably have guessed upper 80s. And Wayne's World at 78 sounds about right. I can see critics beating up Wayne's World a little bit.
Risky Business is a 92%, and Coming to America is in the 70s.
Interesting. Yeah, critics.
I mean, I guess critics love Tom Cruise in Fruit of the Loom. Is really what it comes down to.
Yeah, it's all politics. It's all politics in the Rotten Tomatoes.
Tidy tidies in the end.
Well, you guys scored 7 points, one off of a perfect score. So I'll have you know, I did this game with Christina Marie Leonard, who works at Flappers, and she got 0 right. She scored a big fat 0.
Long segment.
She's also a Nebraskan.
That's true too. Yeah, she got 0. Yeah, and loved every single movie matchup too. So you guys are in rare company.
Segment.
Excellent score.
4 or 5 questions, and she got none of them.
None.
Right.
Like, are you even here right now?
Yeah.
Are
She
you
aced the practice, got none of the real ones right.
really? Because your practice, you busted out some movies that neither of us had even heard of.
Duets. Go back and watch Duets. We'll see if it really earned that 21%.
I probably won't.
Adam and Sean, thank you for talking to me. Where can we find you at?
You can find us on YouTube if you look up The Show with Adam and Sean. Our band is called The Show, and if you type in with Adam and Sean, you can find us on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, all those kind of places. The places where the most active is Instagram. So if you are an Instagram fan, look us up there. That's our favorite social media. But The Show with Adam and Sean.
I went to your YouTube page today and browsed all the videos. You will not be disappointed. There's so much good stuff on there, video and music wise.
That should be coming viral.
Yeah, make it viral for us.
Videos are going viral as we speak. So for The Show, for me, for Adam and Sean, thank you guys for talking. Let's do it again soon.
We'd love to. Thank you.
Hey, that is it. That is the show. That is my show, but that is also The Show. Sean and Adam, weren't they great? Didn't you learn something? How about that Rotten Tomatoes? How about high school? How about everything? I'm glad they joined us. We made it work. Like I said, we recorded this late at night after they finished a show of their own here in town, and we made it work. They were kind enough to join me together. They put on Hawaiian shirts, and we discussed. We figured out what goes on in their world, in their crazy orbit. I think we're better for it too. Don't forget August 10th, virtual show, me, August 15th and 16th, live here in Burbank, California for the Burbank Comedy Festival. Come check it out. Hit me up if you want to know more. More episodes coming of Running It Back in the coming weeks. I'm adding a show in the sports world. I will unveil soon as we get closer. That's going to be fun. New co-host, new subject matter. Football's coming. Gonna be ready for it. Not to mention Olympics. I have a new show on the channel coming up as well. Details on that. We're recording the first one next week. Olympic theme. Still working on the name. Stay tuned. Thank you everybody for listening. Thank you loyal listeners, subscribers, Instagram likers. I love you all. I will see you next time.